Good day, folks. My name is Byron Pass, SGA with the Byron Pass agencies here in Oakville. The following video was created with the purpose of assisting individuals in becoming proficient on the phone. The truth is that the phone or phone work is something that is unavoidable in our business. It is how we create activity. It is how we set up a proper week of activity, and we really set ourselves up with production. There's just a few tips and habits that I want to instill right from the beginning for individuals working with our scripts. The truth is that we have scripts for every type of lead that we work, and these scripts are created for a reason. Number one, they work. Number two, when interpreted properly and used properly, they'll also enforce habits that will be sustainable over time. Some of the important habits are making sure that first of all, we're always on script, and we're always making sure that no matter what tenure we have with the company, that the script is in front of us. Also, from a training point of view, it enforces the habit of training the exact same thing onto somebody who's brand new into the business. So a brand new person coming into the business being trained by somebody who's been doing the exact same thing. So there's too many benefits that are there when working and using these scripts. So I'm going to be going over, first of all, the union phone script, how to set appointments on union leads. I'm going to go over the standard rebuttal, and then I'm also going to go over the referral phone script that I have over here. And we're going to talk about how to properly set up referrals so that no matter who's calling that referral, the agent who collected it or another agent has the exact same chance of booking that appointment. I believe that when we do a good job with referrals, it has to be where if I am working in an area of let's say Toronto, which is the territory we service, and I collected referrals in a city an hour and a half from Toronto that I'm, let's say, not going to work, if I give these referrals to somebody who is working that city, that person should have the exact same chance or probability, let's say, of booking that referral when it's properly collected. So those things, I believe that if we understand them from the get-go, we're going to be able to do a better job with collecting and booking referrals. So we're going to go over that also today. So let's start off with the union script. So there's a few things I want to point out before I actually role-play this out on the phone. So in the first paragraph, there's 3 pauses that are there that have to be done so that this flows well. Not doing those 3 pauses will very likely cause the script or the presentation, the phone presentation, to derail, get off track, and then what may happen is the person might not book the appointment with the agent, and even if the person does at the end, it doesn't prove a point, because had those pauses been done when they were supposed to be done, the agent would have booked the appointment a lot faster, and it would have been a more solid appointment because it will just follow a certain psychology in the mind of the client. So what's really important is to understand that although if somebody goes off script on 1 or 2 sentences and they still book the appointment at the end, they would have still booked the appointment had they been on script and just follow exactly the way it's written and the way it's meant to be interpreted and done. So that could be very deceiving over time, because somebody may think that, okay, well, I'm booking appointments, why do I have to follow the pauses? And the problem that creates is exactly what I just said, is that this person may have still booked all those appointments and in fact had more solid appointments, higher show ratio on the appointments, had they just been doing it the way it's meant to be done. And again, going back to what I said earlier, from a training perspective, it allows that person who's doing it right on script to be able to easily train somebody else to do it as well. So that's very important to keep in mind. So I have right here my union script and my standard rebuttal. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run a phone call just using the union script without any objections on the phone. And then we're going to go over the standard rebuttal, which has the major objections that we would face on the phone when booking an appointment. After we do that, then we're going to move into the referral phone script. So here we go. couple of things. When you're booking any type of appointments on the phone, it's very important that there is cadence in your voice, number one. Number two, that you're loud and clear. Not loud as in shouting on the phone, but very loud and clear as to who it is that you want to talk to. Be sure to know how to pronounce people's names correctly. I think that sometimes that can make a difference, especially because we do live in a diverse society where we have people from all over the world, in fact. So I would think that anyone working in this territory would want to ensure that they know how to pronounce people's names, especially if they're from a different part of the world. And good news is we have a very diverse office that if you are not sure how to pronounce someone's name as you read it, ask somebody who might know in our office. It's important, actually. And I think that when you call someone and they identify, through our conversation that, by my name, obviously I'm not from the same ethnic background of this person, but I can pronounce his or her name correctly, that's actually points in my favor. So the first thing is when you look at the lead, be sure to know how to pronounce their name. Also be sure to know who it is that you're calling. If it's a union, be sure to know so for example, if it's the UFCW, so what does UFCW mean? It means the United Food and Commercial Workers Union. If it's an association, be sure not to call it a union. So if you're calling an association lead, be sure that you don't use the word union in your script, because it's not a union, it's an association. So those things are important. Also be sure to note, most of our leads, I would say 90% of our leads, have the date of birth on the lead card. So you know exactly, okay, this person is born February 1st, 1960, whatever the case may be. So you have that, and you know what you're looking at. So just little points before you make the phone call. So knowing exactly how to pronounce their name, knowing exactly who it is that you're calling. If it's a union, what does the acronym mean, which is UFCW, United Food and Commercial Workers Union, and their date of birth, and of course beneficiary information, and make sure that you can also properly pronounce the name of the beneficiary they listed, and that you understand the relationship already. So those are just quick points that you want to keep in check all the time as you're calling and before you're picking up the phone and actually phoning a lead. So I'm going to pretend right now that I'm calling John Smith, and he's a member of the Iron Workers Local 721. Okay? So here's how it goes. Hello, may I speak to John, please? Thank you. Hi, John. This is Byron. I'm calling you from AIL. It is in regards to the little reply card you sent us back from your union, the Iron Workers Local 721. Yeah. It's regarding the supplemental benefits you're entitled to, John, the extra $4,000 policy. You put Mary as your beneficiary, Mary Smith as your beneficiary? Yes. Is this your wife? Perfect. So the reason, great. The reason we're calling you is simple. We have your certificate here and package of supplemental benefits, and they have us working in your area tomorrow. Do you still live at 123 Main Street in Oakville? Great. So, John, what would be a good time to deliver your certificate and explain the benefits you're entitled to? Are you and Mary home tomorrow between 6 and 7 p.m.? You are? Great. John, could you please grab a pen and paper? Let me know when you're ready. You got it? Okay. So my name is Byron, B-Y-R-O-N. Got it? I work for AIL. So we work in cooperation with the local 721 of Iron Workers. And I'll be seeing you tomorrow, December the 1st. See you and Mary tomorrow, December the 1st, between 6 and 7 p.m. Okay? All right, wonderful. You have a good night. Thank you. So obviously not every phone presentation is going to go as smoothly as that one. But let me point out a few things here first of all. As I am doing the first paragraph, which is this paragraph that you have over here, this paragraph is the one that has 3 pauses. So I pause the first time when I say the name of the union, Because the truth is that if I pause, and this is a mistake sometimes commonly made, if I pause when I say AIL, so hello, is John there? Hi John, this is Byron, I'm calling you from AIL. He's probably going to question me at that point because he doesn't know who AIL is. Though he sent back a reply card to us through his organization, AIL may still be an unknown to him. So that already there can derail the script and the phone presentation, where it may end up in the person not giving an appointment. So what's key here is to pause when we say the name of the union. Why? Because that's something familiar to him. That's something that he cannot say no to, actually. He knows he's a member of the Iron Workers Local 721. And you're going to achieve this pretty much within 6 to 7 seconds of him picking up the phone. So if I say, hi John, this is Byron, I'm calling you from AIL. It is regarding the little reply card you sent us back from your union, the Iron Workers Local 721. So that probably took me 6 to 7 seconds, 8 seconds maybe. But then at that point I'm going to pause. He can only say yes at that point because he is a member of the Local 721. Then we say regarding the supplemental benefits you're entitled to, the extra, in this case we say $4,000 accidental policy. The extra $4,000 accidental policy, you put down Mary as your beneficiary, and then I pause again, and then he's going to say yes again. So it's the second yes. And then of course I just verify the relationship. Is this your wife? Is this your daughter? Is this your sister? Is this whoever they put down? And that's the third yes. So the key is that within 15 to 20 seconds of that phone call, that member is going to say yes to me 3 times. When I pause and I say the name of the union, when I verify who they put down as their beneficiary, and when I confirm the relationship of that person to them. So that's 3 yeses within 20 seconds, let's say. And then I'm going to get my 4th yes pretty soon. So then say great. The reason we're calling is simple. We have your certificate here and package of supplemental benefits, and they have us working in your area tomorrow. Do you still live at, and you confirm the address, which should be on the reply card. Well, they live there, so they're going to say yes again. That's now 4 yeses. So now you're actually set up to close on a time slot. And that's the key about this script. This script, all you're doing in this script is you're closing on time. And the key here is to make sure that you ask a closing question that will deliver a time slot. And this is very crucial right now because even though you may have done the first paragraph correctly and the second paragraph correctly, you may lose the appointment at that point if you're not closing on a time slot. So it says, great, what would be a good time to deliver your certificate and explain the benefits you're entitled to? So that could be a question. But if you notice, that is an open-ended question. What would be a good time to deliver your certificate and explain the benefits you're entitled to? What would be a good time? That question can have 1,000 different answers. So we don't want to ask that question. We simply keep going. And we say, are you and you say the name. It says here your spouse, but it says say name. So are you and Mary home tomorrow between X and Y? Now here's an easy way to book an appointment. 90% of the people that we talk to live routine lives. What does that mean? They get up at a certain time, they go to work, and they get home at a certain time. So it is very likely that if you're talking to somebody today, let's say today, Tuesday, at 4 p.m., and you're calling them and they're home, it's very likely they're going to be home the following day at the same time, simply because most people out there live routine lives. So a very easy way to actually close on a time slot is to simply say, are you and Mary home tomorrow around this time? There's only 2 answers to that question, yes or no. Again, you can also close the appointment by saying, are you and Mary home tomorrow between 6 and 7 or between 4 and 5? And actually just say the times and let them say yes or no. Now, what's going to happen is if they are in fact home at the time that you're closing, and again, why you want to be closing the time slot is because if you are filling up your schedule and you have, for example, on your schedule certain time slots that you need to fill, then what happens is you're looking at your schedule and your aim is to actually fill in those time slots. So you have a visual as to what you need to fulfill in terms of appointments, so it's easy for you to then suggest what time you want them booked. Again, an easy technique to book an appointment is by simply offer the same time at the next day. So if you're calling them today at whatever time it is, and that happens to be a time that you know you're going to be in the field the next day, then you simply offer that time slot. It's very effective. I've been using it for years and teaching it for years, and people book a lot of appointments that way. So what happens is, whenever you're then closing on a time slot, so it says, great, what would be a good time to deliver your certificate and explain the benefits you're entitled to? Are you and Mary home tomorrow between 8 and 9, for example? So if he says no, we're not, and he doesn't say what time they'll be home, for example, then my next question will be very specific. Then I'll ask, at what time do you and Mary get home from work? That's the question. At what time do you and Mary get home from work? That is only if he doesn't tell me that already. Because a lot of the times when they say no, I'm not home at that time, I actually don't get home until 6 p.m. from work, then I already know that. I know that they're home after 6 p.m. So I don't need to ask them what time they get home from work, because I'm going to find that out anyway. So if they say they're home after 6, the first time I close on the appointment, then I know, okay, they're likely home after 5 or 5:30 from work. But if they say, no, I'm not home at that time, then 9 out of 10 times they themselves will say, well, no, that doesn't work for us because we're actually not home until 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. from work. So then I know what time to offer next. So in an example where they say, no, we're actually not home until 6 p.m., and let's say I offered 4 to 5, and they say no because we're not home until 6, then the next time slot I'm going to offer is between 6 and 7, between 7 and 8. Here's the key. The question is not whether or not I'm coming. The only question we're answering right now is at what time I will show up. So this script is written in a way where when done properly, at the end of the script, at the end when we're closing the time slot, that's really the only question. The only question is what time we're going to show up, not whether or not they're going to see us, right? So that's the whole shift that we have to take from explaining who we are, why we're calling, because they mail back a response card from their union, verifying that we have the correct information, beneficiary and birth date, and then set up a delivery for their benefits. So to an appointment to set up the delivery of the no-cost benefits and explain the benefits that they're entitled to. So that's the whole shift goes to the end, is that it's not a question whether or not we're coming, it's a question as to when. When are we going to get this done? So now, what's really important now is that as we work through the script, you have to maintain a different speed of speech when you are working on the script. For example, when you have the first paragraph, to give you an idea, you have to talk at 50 miles an hour, first paragraph. The second paragraph, same, 50 miles an hour. The third paragraph, a little bit slower. And then the last paragraph, even slower. So we go from 50 miles an hour to 40 miles an hour to 30 miles an hour, for example. Here's why. I want solid appointments. I want appointments that I know are going to have an 80% show ratio. The only way I can ensure that is that I'm closing them correctly. And by that I mean that there's still going to be no shows, no matter what. But nothing is more demoralizing to have 8 appointments in a day and only 2 show up. If that happens, first of all, there's something broken in the phone presentation, period. There is no ifs, ands, or buts there. There is not. The phone presentation is broken. You need to, get a refund on your phone presentation. Okay, get a new one, because the one that you're using doesn't work. But it goes back to how you're doing it. So what's key here is that we have this last paragraph here that says, could you please grab a pen and paper? Are you ready? My name is Byron. I work for AIL, and I add this to that script, to that line. I said, AIL, we work in cooperation with your union, John. The hour works in 7:21. And I will see you and Mary tomorrow between whatever time we agreed. Another thing that's important is that we don't book one-legged appointments. One-legged appointments is when you only have one spouse present. You should never make